What's up, Taiwan? I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The Cabinet has announced its plans for the 2026 general budget. It's a topic the ruling and opposition parties often struggle to agree on. Our reporter Leslie Liao has the latest and joins us now from our Taipei newsroom. Leslie, how much does the Cabinet want to spend next year?
Hi, Jeremy. So the Cabinet has proposed a $100 billion budget for the year 2026, which is about $3.5 billion more than what was budgeted for this year. Now, this spending plan is more than what the government expects to take in revenue. There's about a $5.5 billion discrepancy. And to make that up, the Premier Zhuo Rongtai in Taiwan says that the government will take on more debt to make up the difference.
中央政府总预算再加上特别预算，两项加起来，举债刚好是4000亿元。
This spending bill still requires legislative approval. Last year, the Cabinet also tried to push a $100 billion budget, but once it got to the legislature, that budget was cut by 7%. So the budget we're seeing today may end up looking different come finalization.
Now, Leslie, is there anything that sticks out in this particular budget?
Yeah, Jeremy, and that is going to be the defense budget. Taiwan has been facing increasing calls from the U.S. and other allies to bring up its military spending. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te earlier this year said that he wants Taiwan's defense spending to hit at least 3% of GDP. And it seems the Cabinet has followed through by proposing a defense budget of $31 billion or about 3.3% of Taiwan's GDP. But it's important to point out that the Cabinet achieved this number by consolidating Taiwan's military, veterans benefits, and a Coast Guard budget into the same category. That's new. That hasn't been done before, but the Premier says that's how NATO does it.
国防预算也仿照北约 的计算模式标准，那边辅导会退役军人的相关支出，跟海巡署的预算等等，国防预算总计达到9495亿元，达到 GDP 的3.23%。
Now, the reason why defense spending is so vital in Taiwan is twofold. Number one, Taiwan faces threats of invasion from China, so it needs to up its arsenal to deter Beijing. Number two is that Taiwan's biggest military ally, the United States, wants to see Taiwan take its own defense seriously before it makes any further commitments to Taipei. But like I said, this budget is still subject to legislative approval, and the legislature is held by the opposition. So come approval time, this budget might look quite different. We don't know what it's going to look like. Jeremy, back to you.
Thanks for that breakdown, Leslie. That was Leslie Liao, live from our Taipei newsroom. Taiwan's Air Force saw a rare missile test failure during a practice launch on Wednesday. While the cause is still being looked into, some experts say mishaps like these help make the military stronger. Alan Liu reports.
This is the moment one of Taiwan's U.S.-purchased Patriot PAC-2 missiles failed its test launch. The rare mishap came during a recent Air Force live-fire drill. At around 5:30 in the morning on August 20th, just 4 seconds after launching, the missile self-destructed. A minute later, a second PAC-2 was fired off, this time succeeding. The Defense Ministry says they're still looking into why the launch failed. One lawmaker on the legislature's Defense Committee says it's all part of the learning process.
那我相信，那每一次的演训就是替我们国军去寻找出更好的解决方案，还有一些问题点在哪里，那能够更让我们准备好未来面对战时挑战时的各种状况。
The Patriot 2 is an advanced air defense missile system, mainly tasked with shooting down enemy aircrafts and incoming missiles before they can hit their targets. Experts say the system's radars are the key to its effectiveness, but may also have been at the root of this one's failure.
这个爱国者2型它是完全这个惯性导引，然后它要透过这个雷达去追踪目标之后呢，一直不断的跟它修正它的这个拦截方向，所以它是一种这个半主动的导引方式。那它很可能是在也许在中途它也许这个雷达讯号脱锁啊或什么原因，那它发现这个讯号中断嘛，它为了安全起见，它就自行引爆。
The recent live-fire drills of Taiwan's east coast also included test launches of the Taiwan-made Sky Sword 2 and Sky Bow 3. The Air Force says the drills are meant to enhance realistic training and ensure the overall combat capability of the armed forces. John Su and Ellen Liu for TaiwanPlus.
Israel says it's begun the first stages of operations to take over Gaza City. A spokesperson for the Israeli military says it's already holding the outskirts of the city as it prepares to deepen its attack on Hamas. Israel's called up tens of thousands of reservists for an expected assault on the area, which it says is a Hamas stronghold. It comes amid growing international and domestic pressure on Israel to end the nearly 2-year war, which has killed more than 62,000 Palestinians. A White House effort to swap CHIPS Act grant money for an equity stake in U.S. chipmaker Intel may just be a first step. U.S. officials said such deals could extend to other companies, and the effort is getting support from frequent Trump critics. For more on what the deal could mean for Intel, Chris Gorin spoke to Stacy Razgon, managing director and senior analyst at Bernstein Research.
U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, normally a Trump administration critic, has come out in favor of the White House plan to take about a 10% stake in the U.S. chipmaker Intel in exchange for CHIPS Act grants. That would seem to give it at least some bipartisan cover. Do you think this makes the plan materially more likely in the near term?
To be honest, I doubt that anything Bernie Sanders has to say is going to influence this administration one way or the other. It is kind of interesting, though, because the CHIPS Act itself was quite bipartisan. It was actually one of the very few true pieces of bipartisan legislation that actually made it through. And there's a fair amount of grants that were awarded in quite a few states. So it actually makes this whole thing very interesting, because if the Trump administration is saying they want to swap grants for equity now, I don't even know, frankly, if they're allowed to do that. I mean, the CHIPS Act, it was an act of Congress. So I don't know what the Trump administration actually can do. Although, look, I'd say, they don't always care, right? I mean, they typically will go and, they'll try to do whatever they can do and I guess see if anybody tries to stop them.
Even if the deal goes through, do you think the $10.9 billion US injection would be enough to fix the problems that Intel is facing?
I don't think so. It's not big enough. I mean, so again, just for some context, the Ohio project that they delayed. I mean, that was Pat Gelsinger's baby, the old CEO, and now they've delayed that to 2030 or even beyond. They don't need it. They don't need the capacity. That project was originally spec'd at $28 billion. So, I mean, the CHIPS Act money was, again, that $10.9 billion, that was actually supposed to go across, I don't know, 3 or 4 different locations: Oregon, New Mexico, Arizona, and Ohio. This 10 billion or 11 or whatever it is, it isn't enough. They need more.
If you're Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan right now, do you take this deal?
Well, again, Lip-Bu may or may not have a choice, right? But it's still, we should talk about what they need. They need more than money. So they need 3 things, in my opinion. Number one, they do need money, sure. Number 2, they need customers. And this is one of the other, let's say they build out Ohio. Let's say they hand them $28 billion and they go build out Ohio. Great. What are they going to fill it with? Right? If you don't have customers, you're just digging a hole and throwing $28 billion into it and then setting it on fire, right? I mean, you need customers. And some folks have speculated that maybe the Trump administration would force or encourage customers to use Intel and help to get the business. The problem with that is that they need a third thing: capability. And this is something that they have not yet proven that they have. And my own view is you don't need to force customers to use Intel. If Intel can prove that they can deliver products at these advanced manufacturing nodes in spec, at a good cost structure and on time, they will have customers lined up around the block to use it. If they cannot prove that they can do those things, and those are table stakes for running a foundry business, if they can't prove that they can do that, nobody's going to put any material volume there. How could you bet your own roadmap on Intel's ability to execute if you're not convinced that they can.
That was Stacy Razgon from Bernstein Research. Throughout August, Osaka has been hosting a major cultural event spotlighting Taiwan's culture and history. As the exhibition closes its doors to the public, our reporter Sandy Chi looks at the event's significance.
A multi-sensory journey into the true colors of Taiwan. Telling the story of Taiwan's journey to democracy and Taiwan's technological prowess. These, all elements of We Taiwan, a cultural event held this August alongside Expo 2025 in Osaka. Over 19 days, the program featured performances, exhibitions, and a variety of activities, attracting around 200,000 visitors. It's the first time Taiwan has hosted such a major cultural event in Japan.
台湾不会放弃任何机会，只要有这样子的世界级的这些活动跟舞台，我们都希望能够参与，用各种的方式去传达我们的声音、我们的样子。那也希望大家因为先认识了台湾的文化，所以能够理解而认识到台湾这个国家。
And unlike previous events held abroad, Taiwan was able to represent itself using its name.
只要参与这样的展会，尤其是跟国际认证形态的展会，台湾这两个字都蛮不容易出现的。
Taiwan has long faced challenges using its name on international platforms due to pressure from China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory. At last year's Cultural Olympiad, an event held alongside the Paris Summer Games, Taiwan was barred from using its name and instead went by Taipei. And at Expo 2025, Taiwan was represented by Tech World, an exhibition managed by a Taiwanese company based in Japan. But despite these difficulties, Taiwan continues to do what it can to connect with the world.
用台湾为名，当然是因为我们就是台湾，我们也希望人家看见我们就是台湾。台湾不是一个应该被回避的字眼，即使我们使用了台湾的名称，也代表的是我们是台湾人，我们是台湾的文化，它并不是代表一个主权的宣示。
And the name Taiwan actually attracted some visitors to the event.
早期我们这样子在国外跑的时候，其实我觉得当时候台湾在所谓的文化或者是艺术这一方面的行销，其实我觉得是受限的。逐渐这几年，我觉得不光是政府的部分也好，或者是人民的部分也好，我们对于这种东西，意识性的东西，艺术的东西，我们或者是我们国家的定位，其实我们都非常的认同度是越来越高。
I
was really moved that there's such wonderful art in Taiwan. I really learned a lot from that. Also, the projection mapping of Taiwan's scenery was wonderfully beautiful. I really loved it. Since that's the real Taiwan, I want to come back again and spend time taking it easy, not just in the famous cities, but in towns in the countryside.
With We Taiwan officially over, Taiwan has left a lasting impression on the world stage, putting the country and its name in the spotlight. Devon Tai, PT Zhuang, and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Team Taiwan remains undefeated at the Little League World Series after beating Venezuela 7-3. Taiwan scored twice in the first inning and once in the fourth on bases-loaded walks. In the fifth, pitcher and first baseman Chen Qisheng hit a bases-clearing double, going 2 for 2 with 2 runs scored and 3 RBIs. The squad will now advance to the international final held in Williamsport in the U.S. state of Pennsylvania. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, let's take a look at London Zoo's annual animal weigh-in, from ring-tailed lemurs to capybaras, penguins, and tortoises. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care, and see you next time.